Welcome to Positive Moments with Andrew and Don.
Let everything go.
That was such a life-changing experience.
It's a way of life, it's a way of being, it's a way of thinking, it is mind management.
It inspires me to know that there's more to learn every single day. Welcome to Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. This is episode 3, season 2. As you can tell from the first 2 episodes, we're excited about Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. We're excited about the opportunity, but more so to meet the guests that we do. Today is going to be no different. And I mean, this guest that's next to me right here on my left, this guest is actually very, very special to me. Very, very special because he's none other than L. Anthony Watkins. Now, for some, you might hear L. Anthony Watkins and you might think about Odyssey Consultinc, previously Anthony Watkins and Associates, and then you have Odyssey Consultinc, and he's the principal consultant. But more than all of that, and all of the accolades that could actually come after his name, or even before his name, this is a friend. And this is a gentleman who I have a very distinct memory. I got a little, they say you get a little piece, a little job with him. I remember leaving the bank and getting to be part of his organization as an associate consultant. I think he dropped the associate when I got there. We don't want that again. But interestingly, a day he called me in his office. And he said, Don, he said, how are you doing? I said, well, I'm doing good. He said, how are you doing? I said, I'm doing fine. I said, but you'll give me some business and thing and I'm happy. And then he looked at me. Now, technically, I was being fired. I don't think he really fired me. But technically, he said to me, he said, what about your business? And that actually made me reflect a little bit about me and my journey. Certainly he's a mentor to me, someone who I have the utmost respect for. I learn a lot from. I've learned a lot from, continue to learn from him, but certainly someone who encourages everybody to be their best. No coincidence that Andrew and him have their own relationship. Andrew, I guess, will speak to that. But really and truly, it's a joy to have on Positive Moments the one and only L. Anthony Watkins. You can't have a positive moment show or a positive moment phrase without saying his name. Join us in welcoming to Positive Moments, L. Anthony Watkins. Welcome.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Andrew. Good to be here with you all.
Most welcome, and when I think of L, L in Spanish is the.
The. That's right, yeah.
So the.
That one is a little.
The Anthony Watkins.
That's why my water is finished. Whoa. Wow.
Thank you very much. And today, as we dive into, I like to find positivity where most can't see it or even feel it. And in life, we all were gifted with the power of choice. And today we want to discover how do you relate positivity to the power of choice. Now, this can go anywhere, but I want you to try your best to take it back, as far back as you could remember. Because you've gone through all these journeys in your life, and you would have got more confident, you would have had more accolades, you'd have had more successes. And when you have more experience, your power of choice is more concrete. But not necessarily relating to anybody's age, some people struggle with their power of choice. And I believe everybody would have had a struggle understanding how to develop a strong power of choice. So take us down that journey of how you developed a strong power of choice, and what does that relate to positivity in your life?
Boy, this is a really deep one, and it's a useful thing because as you were introducing there, I was thinking back to the moments, and choice really is about arriving at a moment and making a decision to do one thing or the next. And there have been a couple of times, and I'll start with a more recent one, and the more recent one is about 22 years ago, when actually I married for the second time at my second marriage, and as I was going into the marriage, I told my wife, and I've said to her over the years, I say, you see this love thing? Love is a decision. When you're young, you feel all the emotion and the infatuation and nothing to do with love. Love is a decision. It's a decision to commit to something, to stay with it, and to be and to do a certain kind of way. But if I go back a little further, and maybe it's a little more than 20 years back, I remember being in high school, and of course, you're growing up, you're out there in the country. I lived and grew up in Arima and then moved to Samoa. But it was a life that was very lively, very physical. You're going to the river, you're going up in the savannah. In those days, horse racing was in the savannah in Arima, where the velodrome is. And it was about a very lively lifestyle. So I used to be quite a bit of an athlete. I used to run and play football. And when I went off to high school, I played football first year, second year, third year. And when I got to Form 4, I played. And when I was going into Form 5, my mother said to me, well, exams this year, no sports. I said, what? She says, no sports, you are doing exams. So, of course, I grumbled and I was quite pained at that. Of course, those days, the school year was January to December. So the first half of the year was track, running, dry season. Then the second half was football. And I was so disturbed and I was so pained by that. The truth is that after that year, while the opportunity would have come up subsequently, I never went to track or played football competitively. It's almost as though I said, you see me, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And that was 1964. 1968, I went off to Canada and went to university. And I remember saying, let me go and see the track team try out. And I went to Varsity Stadium, walked in, and I sat there and I was looking at the guys on the track and kind of wanting to get excited about this and get back into track. And I looked at them, and as I was looking at them, all the emotions of 1964 started to come back up. The anger came back, the hurt, the disappointment, and I literally just walked down the steps of the stadium, walked out, and never went to do anything competitively in terms of sport. And I reflect on that over the years as the power of choice, but the power of negative choice. Because in a lot of ways, I have wondered what life would have been like if I had, in fact, taken it up when I had the opportunity and gone back to it. What I might have done, what I might have been able to achieve, because I used to kind of flatter myself that I was good. And, you know, so that it really is something that, it was a moment, and there was a way that I went with this circumstance. Of course, coming out of that, you know, you then tell yourself, you know, how you look at something, how you respond to it. Do you continue to let this thing hang on to you? And that too is a choice. You know, do you let it imprison you, or do you release it and liberate yourself to live fully? So I thought I would start the choice thing by really what was, in fact, a not so good choice on my part, but which, even in its own way, had some useful life lessons going forward after that. So.
And when we look at the product, I like this product, you know, WD-40?
Yes.
You know the little story about them and where the name came from? Mm-hmm. Well, WD-40 stands for Water Displacing 40. On the 40th time is when they got the product to work. Okay. And if we really look at a product like that, that's sitting on the shelf all the time, WD-40, works well, probably in everybody's house. If they had the power of a choice to make that 39th into 40 move, to now become a worldwide international brand, you would have made a move. It wasn't sport because of a choice. You would have made a move at some point in time. And from my understanding, not every single business thrived. Yes. But you made some moves that, give us one or two in particular. If you didn't do the second chance or second try, it would not exist here today. You probably won't be sitting with us here today. This is where we want to go here now.
You know, in some ways, when I came back to, after I graduated, I worked in Canada for a while in the prison system, psychiatric assessment, and as a probation and parole officer. But I always, again, and that was a moment of choice, because, you know, my wife and I at the time, we used to keep saying, at least I used to keep saying, we're going back home, we're going back home, we're going back home. And our son was born in 1974. And when 1980 hit, he was going to be 6 in October of that year. And I just said during that summer, I said, listen, we're going back home this year. If we don't go back home this year, we can't go back home. Because, you know, children, when they get into the ice hockey and all the other kinds of things, this is 1974. I mean, no internet, no nothing, no, I mean, if you came back here, you came back here. And that's what the end result was. And I said, if once they get into the Canadian lifestyle too deeply, it's going to be too difficult for them. And it was really just choice, we're going back home. Come back here. And In a lot of ways, you know, I wanted to go to work in the prisons. I said, having worked in the prison up there. And I used to I went to the people at the prison and told them about my experience, which was vast up there in terms of criminal justice system and so on. And they kept saying, yeah, that's great, we need somebody like you. Not everybody who says, yeah, is really meaning yeah. And eventually I realized that there was a lot of blockages in this thing. And then I made a choice. I said, but you know, why go to work with people in prison? I used to work in education, I used to be a teacher. Why not go back to education and prevent them from going to prison? And the choice then was to go to become a guidance officer. So I applied for a job as a guidance officer. They had just set up the guidance unit in Trinidad, and that was it. Other choice in there, it was just set up late 80, early 81, and there were schools available, and they were asking officers, you know, which schools they wanted to go to, and they were listing all these schools. And Tunapuna, Shenkoanas, you know, Arima. And they said, but there are two schools we have. We have Northeastern College in Sangre Grande and Toko Composite. And so there. So when everybody had chosen, I put my hand up. I said, well, I want to go to Northeastern College in Sangre Grande and Toko Composite. And people kind of said, you live in Samo, you don't have a car. Why are you going quite up there? I said, I just like it. The truth is, it was a choice I had made because after working in Canada and living in Canada for about 13 years, coming back to Trinidad for me was not coming back to city and urban life. I really wanted to go back to our roots place. I was born and grew up in Arima. My father used to work in the eastern counties, St. David, St. Andrew, and River Mara, and as youngsters, we used to be up there all the time. So that was a choice to really to go back to old memories, fun memories, and a kind of rootedness and a Trinidad that I used to hanker for and that I knew and loved. So I went back there, and that was another major choice for me in terms of the work that I was doing. Of course, the other choice, of course, is the choice to go into the business. So go ahead.
You know, it's interesting that you should say that as you're talking about choices, and I knowing you as well as I do, just in your little conversation we've had already, you've already touched on your mother and your father.
Yes.
Quite interesting. And I mean, both stalwarts in their own way. And I know, Tony, having been at your mom's funeral, and again, condolences, I mean, sometime, but I'll still say condolences, they've had a major impact in your life. And I certainly would have shaped your choices even today along the path to more than likely make a positive choice 10 out of 10 times. And I heard you do your eulogy, and you always spoke about your mom in particular. I heard you speak about your dad too, but I heard you speak about your mom and what that means for you in terms of even some youngsters that may be looking on this show, because we have a wide viewership.
Yes.
In terms of how do the parents really impact choices, even at your age now, to say what kind of impact they would have had on you.
You know, it's interesting because sometimes, you know, we have a world view. There's a way that we relate to the world, and we could put it at the two ends either as well. You know, I can do what I need to do, I'm empowered to do that, or I am a victim of circumstance. And we somewhere in that zone in between there. And what puts us in either of those positions really has to do with some of the early experiences that we have had and some of the messaging that we hear from parents and things like that. So while there may have been some negative and painful things along the way, the messaging that I would have got from my parents, and part of it is that you help people who need help. Both of my parents were teaching. My father then left teaching and went into work as a probation officer. And there were so many mornings when we would just hear somebody by the front gate, you know, Mr. Watkins, Mrs. Watkins, I need a recommendation for X or Y. And it was never no. It was always, yes, come sit down. And in those days, you know, they would sit down and write out the recommendation, send it, or they'd send them to a place where they think they might be able to get a job. And that's how it was. My parents were involved in things. My father in scouting, St. John Ambulance Brigade, sports administration, the Arima Football League. My mother was in the Arima Women's Group. So the space in which I grew up was a space in which you understood that you had something to offer. There's a difference you could make, and there are vehicles for doing that. So for me, it's easy to make choices that are like that. I am not sure if I had grown up in a different kind of space, what it might have been like, what my predisposition to choice might have been. So, you know, I mean, more recently, when I was asked to work on this, the Community Recovery Committee, I mean, that was almost a no-brainer. You know, there's something you can do. This is something that your parents did all their life. This is something that you have done in education and in guidance, counseling and so on. And you get called to do it. What's the choice? It's almost as though you have no choice. You have to go and do it. You know? So I think the idea is, while it may feel easy for me to do that, I am wondering in the conditions under which some people have more negative kind of influences on them, how you overcome that kind of thing. Because I certainly didn't overcome my initial negative experience with the sport and the football. I kind of succumbed to that. Now I bounced back from it afterwards in terms of doing other kinds of things. So there was something maybe about me that allowed me to bounce back. But I think sometimes people may need to be helped to see that they have the power and the potential to make positive choice in spite of the things that impact them, some of which may be negative and painful.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, Tony, I'm hearing you speak there and you're talking about sometimes it's not so much of a choice, it's just what you just must do. But you know, some people, there's a difference between chance and choice. Some live by chance and some live by choice. And I've always said, live by choice instead of chance. I didn't say that by chance, it was my choice. So people understand there's a difference between chance and choice. And the choice to take the career path, even to become an entrepreneur, because you can either be an employee or an employer. And even as an employer, you would have had quite an impact, not just on myself, but many others as well over the years. And if you could just talk a little bit about that in terms of you going on, you started with Anthony Watkins and Associates, and then you transferred into what Odyssey Consultinc.
Yes.
You know, and you've been doing quite a bit of consulting over the years for many persons. Many people would have heard your voice. You've spoken on stages with some of the best international speakers in the world. What has that experience been like, consulting and helping people to make that transformation or a better choice?
Yes, and in a sense, it is even the journey to that. You know, so I worked in guidance from 81 to 89. And, you know, somewhere, you know, sort of in my late 30s, I felt that I wanted to do something different. What would it have been like? Might have been easy to sit and say, there's a good government job, sit down in it for the next 20 years, you'll get your pension. In fact, I remember telling my mother that I wanted to leave the job and go and start a business. And she says, boy, stay, it will pay your mortgage, you know. And of course, all out of a sense of kindness and safety for her son, you know. Because, I mean, nobody in our family had started a business or done anything as adventurous as that. But I just felt this thing that I wanted to do that and decided to make the choice. Now, here are the conditions, and I talk about circumstance and how it can influence choice. This is 1989.
Yeah, I was born.
And, all right. And oops. And in 1989, we had a change of government from the PNM to the NAR in 1986. The economy was in one of its deepest holes. We had gone to the IMF. The NAR government had taken away 10% of public servant salaries. They had removed the cost of living allowance. They had introduced value-added tax. It was the absolute worst time to start a business. And
Worse than this pandemic?
Listen, no, that was terrible. That was awful. And I just said, I want to go and do this thing. I want to go and do this thing. And I remember in January of 1989, I went to Linda Besson. Linda was the general manager at Eastern Credit Union at the time. Linda and I, let me tell a little story. Linda and I used to travel to school together on the train. So this is back in the 60s. We would come, my brother and I and other friends would come in Samo. She and her brothers, Louis and all of them would come in Barrett area. So I mean, I knew her from way back. We were teenagers growing up together. And I went to Linda and I said, listen, I have some skills. I want to do some training. I could develop things for you. And I want to set up, you're the GM, establish a position in the organization so I could do these training programs for the staff and we could also offer it to the members. Had a nice list of training programs.
So what many members?
Well, the members of the credit union.
Right, okay.
All right, so and then she said, well, boy, you know, the economy is so bad, the board made a decision, no more hiring, they're not taking anybody. So I said, okay, thanks. And I went back home with my sheet of paper with all my nice plans and all the programs I could do. And I talk about, and again, choice, the power of the closed door. A closed door is not a closed door. A closed door is an invitation to go knock somewhere else, all right? So I go back home with this piece of paper and I say, boy, you know, she said, Tony's had some nice ideas, something there, but we really can't hire anybody else. And every couple of days I would pick up this piece of paper and look at it, put it back down, and I'd be kind of wondering what else. And then one day it struck me, but wait, why should I offer these things only to Eastern Credit Union? Why shouldn't I offer them to all the organizations in Trinidad and Tobago? And that was the moment when my business, the idea for my business started. And I said, so that door closed, there's another door here. And I set up the business and started it in 1989. Difficult conditions, but it was just a matter of, this is something I have to do. Tough choice. And how this thing going to work? I don't know, but this thing is going to work. And because the conditions were difficult, I really went at it. I had the passion for what I wanted to do, and the times were tough, and I was young, so it was massive energy into this thing. So the choice is not just the thing, you make the choice, but are you prepared to put the passion and the power into that thing to make it happen? And that's what I did.
That is vital. That last part is vital, because we all know that we have the power of the choice.
Yeah.
And a lot of people make the choice. But when they come with, and the bigger the choice, the more sacrifice needed behind it to fulfill it. So when you really, that door was closed to you, it sat down there on the table, this energy, this something in your life up until that moment got you up and going to open these other doors. What was that? What could that have really been?
Well, I think
money would always play a role, I know, in most cases.
Well, I don't know. I didn't even know if there was money in it. There was. I had been working with I found that my relationship, 1989, I would have been just about 40. Okay, so no count done. All right. But the point was, I found that as I went through my 30s and approached 40, I felt less and less able to connect with the teenagers in the school. I just found myself, at 31, 32, 33, I was there with them. And as I aged, I found it more and more difficult to engage with them. At the same time, though, I was lecturing at the university in the School of Continuing Studies, and was working with people who were out in industry and talking about how behavioral sciences could be applied in industry, because all my jobs so far, either in Trinidad or in Canada, had been in public service. And this was, I say, but this thing is intriguing. So you see something, there's a curiosity, you're feeling a little disconnect here. And so disconnect here, and curiosity and excitement about that over there. And I guess the combination of things, hey, yeah, but the time's hard, things tough. I want to go and do that, And almost like the longer it stayed inside of me undone, the more drive it had. And therefore I was just out of the gun like a bullet.
And in the end of the day, we are here now, and you're still consulting to an extent. You're still doing community work. You're still here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, very much so.
And you're still living, believing, doing you.
And loving what I do.
And loving what you do.
Yes.
And continuing to use your power of choice.
Sure.
I recently came across something that, at the age of between 55 and 65, it becomes in human's life, sometimes they look at it as a free fall. They have peaked and it's downhill from here. And I actually don't believe in that. And that's because I have what is called the lion theory. A lion will take care of itself till its last 7 days of death. And it will die within a week.
Yes.
It will take care of itself, it will hunt for the lioness, it will take care of itself, it will be the king of the jungle, and within 7 days, it will pass. It doesn't die a slow death. It thrives, king in the jungle, until 1 week. We, as human beings, have the ability to do so.
Yes.
With a very well maintained mind, body, and soul. So, what is some key aspects in your power of choice that allows you to continue thriving the way you do?
Yeah, well, one of the choices is how do I pace myself? All right, I recognize that I certainly don't have the energy that I had 40 years ago or 30 years ago. So it's a little more difficult now, but it is really, in a sense, being more tactical about what I do, how I work, what I get involved in, and being able to pace myself with that. So for me, that's a key aspect of it. But the other thing about it, in terms of making and continuing to do that, is when I look, for example, on the committee that I serve now, I'm the oldest person on the committee. I tell you, it's the first time in my life I'm on a committee where I'm the oldest person. There was a time I used to be the youngest. I don't know how that happened. That was very sudden, you know. But I'm on this, and sometimes even if I feel a little frustrated or want to say, listen, I don't need this, you know. Even when I get to those moments, I look around at the people in their 30s and in their 40s on the committee, and I ask myself, what is my role in their space and in their life? What do they need? So while some of the work is external, I understand that my role is, and I choose to take that I also have to demonstrate a kind of balance, thoughtfulness, and a way of handling things for them. I've served on boards, and I have experienced some magnificent chairmen on boards. When you have a good chairman, it's a joy, it's a massive learning experience. And I have made a choice now, is that, listen, I have to be the best chairman for them, so that they can learn some things, and the thing goes on that 20, 30 years from now, they will be doing that for somebody else.
You know, Don, I feel like when Anthony comes nowadays to do, I say your thing, because you're doing your thing in my opinion. You come to serve others. You come to help other people. You feel like that, Don? Like he shows up there for others.
Certainly. I mean, in just one or two interactions, you realize here's somebody. I mean, in our lives, we should have a mentor, and we should mentor somebody. And certainly, he's a mentor. When you hear him speak, he's always trying to, just as he had called me into the office, he was trying for me to see beyond, for me to think about, hey, where can you go? Where can your legacy go? Because we each meant to leave a legacy, some way or the other. We are. And there's a quotation I remember him saying, having had the opportunity to speak with him, where it is he has said, if the dream is big enough, I did think I was going to go there. If the dream is big enough, the facts don't matter. And Andrew, that's something that is so, as we talk about dreamers, we like to talk about dream. But if the dream is big enough, the facts don't matter. Even in this time of COVID, there are people who have dreams. I think they're saying this time more people are coming out with small businesses than ever before. And not just to survive, but they're thriving at that too. If you could just talk to that as well, what's the power behind, have you experienced firsthand with that quotation? The dream is big enough, the facts don't matter.
WD-40. There's something that we want to bring this product. We want to perfect this thing. I talk about the dream to fly. The dream that man had to fly is millennia, millions or hundreds of thousands of years old. Man was walking and looking up at the dinosaurs, the pterodactyls and so on. And this dream was always there. But guess what? Gravity is a fact. Gravity is a fact. You can't undo gravity. But in spite of the fact, the dream never died. And people would work and find a way to overcome, to work around what that fact is. And it really is about, if that desire, if that dream is big enough. So a big piece, for example, when we think about choice, is also the choice to dream. Some say, well, no, there's the reality. We have to say, no, you could sit down and put your mind to somewhere else. Everything that we see around us started as an idea. Every single thing. Bulb, fan, table, glass. These things didn't always exist. Somebody had the idea and somebody did something with that. And it is one choosing to dream, to fantasize, but it is also about choosing then to act on what that thing is. So there are a number of choices along the way. That action piece is critical. Some of us have fabulous ideas, but if you never act on it, it stays there,
And Don and I came up with this idea in the peak, of my opinion, of the pandemic, and thanks to the Public Bank, who we are very grateful for, to have this continued show, season 2 going on here now, that we realized that we could do something here with our power of choice. And we chose to do it. And we brought the bank in to be our partner in this. And we had the choice to now do it again. Mm-hmm. But there is a fine line out there of, actually, when we were actually creating this here, there were many choices. Some that didn't work, some that could work, and what you're seeing here is what did work. And I'm crossing a lot of people nowadays. It is important to send a message home here that their power of choice, it is just very confused. Mm-hmm. They don't know where to go. Yes. There's left in their face and there's right in their face. They could go either way. They're at a Y junction and they're stuck. But I am seeing it from an outside perspective a lot of time that I could feel the direction they should go in, but I could never tell anybody. You could always inspire,
Yes.
but I don't ever want to say, you go here because I say so. And I try to involve human beings by asking them the right questions so that they answer for themselves. It's like when I came here every day, or as I wake up every day and I'm engaging with people, as soon as I engage with them, I ask myself, what do I want them to experience and what do I want them to take away? So I come out of myself. I'm no longer me.
Yes.
It's my third person always engaging with everybody else. And I believe that a lot of people don't have that third person perspective. They're living in themselves and they get stuck. How do you help somebody really find that direction when they're really on the edge of going left or right and they can't find that concrete direction?
Well, you struck a very critical piece there. One of the things is the power of questions. Questions begin thought and they begin conversations. Answers and instructions end conversations. If you tell somebody what they say, okay, end the conversation. So, what if you had to do X or Y? How do you think this might be different from that? And you get them starting to think. Now, part of the power of questioning is not just the questions that you ask in the moment to help them to explore the things, but the questions that remain unanswered that they go away with. Because they walk in and say, boy, this man asked me something. I wonder why he asked me that. And at some point, they will get an answer. It might be the right answer, but the point, what you don't want to do, and we do it sometimes in our sessions, you don't want a training session or a learning session to get wrapped up and closed and completed. I want to leave something undone so that you leave, but you're wondering, but why they didn't tell us about that? I wonder what else they have on that. Maybe we should, because you're leaving something unanswered, that questioning thing is where curiosity and then discovery takes place. All right, so as you discover, hey, well, maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that instead, you know. So
It's so interesting because I'm thinking of a question in my mind, and then you just ended on the discovery there. And one of the things I know we would have worked on is to discover and to live a purpose. And you know, the part of choice inside of that, because our choices determine where we go, our destiny in essence. And but there's purpose that has sort of been, you know, as an inspirational speaker, I would say God has a purpose for us and it's already there. And for you in helping people find purpose, how has that been for you? And that P word, that purpose, what's that for you?
Well, not so much for me and helping people, but helping myself. But you know, that's something that I grappled with a lot, you know, especially during my 30s, working in guidance, you're working with students and helping them to choose a direction, even if it's as basic as choosing subjects in Form 4 or choosing what to do in Form 6 or what to do after they leave school and doing some of that guidance. But in a lot of ways, the journey forward has been prepared for us, and you talk about the question of God's purpose for us, so that I take it from the perspective that we come into this world, and the biblical story refers to it, that people come into the world with talents. There's something that I have. So people will say, well, boy, you could really talk. Well, if I could really talk, if that is my gift and one of my talents, then how do I use it for good and for the glory of God? Wow. If I could run, if I could dance, if I could, you know, conceptualize things, if I could draw. So the point is, how do you help people to see that regardless of who they are, there is something inside of them that is potential, that is a seed waiting to be released. And if you know what, well, okay, I'm good at X, Y, and Z, then you ask yourself, how do you use these things to make a difference, to give your life some kind of purpose and meaning? So when I look, you know, and I was describing my journey, something. So I used to teach, I worked in the prison, I worked in psychiatric assessment, I was in a probation and parole officer, I was a guidance officer, now I'm a consultant. People ask me, so why you kept changing jobs? And I said, I've never changed jobs. My job was always the same. I kept changing employers. But my job was to make people better today than they were yesterday and to prepare them for a better tomorrow. So whether that was as a teacher, as a prison officer in Canada, as a psychiatric assistant, as a probation and parole officer, as a guidance officer, or as a consultant, the job was always the same. So that when Adon comes to work in my office, and he gets comfortable. My thing is, where does Don need to go? I look at plants and I see how they look good in a pot, and then they grow and they fill out the pot and they cover the pot and the roots keep growing, and one day you see the pot has a little crack in it. So they have outgrown that thing, that space. So when people work with me and you help them to be and to see all that they can be, and they have all these choices, and they come and say one day, Mr. Watkins, boss, I think I want to move on. I'm happy for them. Because it means that something in here, there's another space that they need. There's something else that they need to become. And I say, I have done my work.
Finally.
That's only for them. That's all. So that people move on. And I look at them and happy, and that when I see them succeed now, I say, hey, that's one of my peeps.
And when you look at purpose and it is a real interesting topic. You can have a whole session or two just on that word. But when I simplify it, I don't think I've ever crossed anybody that since they were born till they pass had the same purpose. Purpose is forever evolving. And if you can't find your purpose, you can listen to it. Because something you said about listening, people will tell you, hey, you could dress well, boy. You could cook really good. You could clean really good. You're really good at this. You're really good at that. Sometimes your purpose is talking to you. And by nature, the simplest way to achieve purpose, in my opinion, is to help other people. Yeah? Help other people. The thing about the purpose piece is that if you have a purpose, your purpose transcends whatever you do, So I will say, okay, so my purpose really is in the business of helping people and organizations to develop and to grow, fulfill themselves, and have a rich experience and a rich life. And I'm saying, suppose I were to become a barber. How do I fulfill that purpose? Well, what I would do, the magazines that I have on my table while people waiting would be a certain kind of magazine. The TV that is up on the thing there, the videos or the things that I will be showing will be a particular kind of thing. If I'm a maxi driver, maybe the station that I tune into or the music that I play or the stickers, the little posters and the quotations I have up in my maxi will speak to that. So your purpose really is not a job-specific thing. It's a difference you want to make in the world and in people's lives. And wherever you find yourself is how do you do that there in that space? That's powerful, boy.
If I'm hearing a lot, Andrew, I'm hearing a lot of experience. I've always said that every experience is meant for the next experience. I've learned that by experience. I'm not sure what is your experience, but you have to experience it to have the experience of it. And based on your experience, what would you say is success? Because even as we're talking now, a lot of people have this thing, what's success? What would you say from your experiences? I'm very, very curious, and I suppose those are looking on as well. What does L. Anthony Watkins say? What is success to L. Anthony Watkins?
Me, peace.
Wow.
Peace.
So we didn't hear anything about Instagram followers there.
No. Wow. Listen, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I was having a little issue with something in my stomach. I didn't know what it was. And I was going off to the States to do a test. My brother is a cardiologist. He lives in the States. And the night before I went, I was just going up literally on the Thursday to do the test the Thursday night and come back home the Friday to address whatever it was. And my wife and I were lying on the bed talking. And I was saying to her, I say, something, Jay? I say, when I go up and we get the results, she wasn't going with me, I was going alone because it was just a one-day turnaround. I say, when I get the results on this and I tell you these results, whatever the results, if the results are bad and negative because there was a potential for that, I say, I'm good with that. I say, if the results are good, I say, I'm good with that. There was a kind of peace, a peacefulness about me. I say, listen, big man know what he's doing. All right? I good with him, I'm good with my family, and if this is what it has to be, I'm at peace with that. I leave and I go to places now in terms of what is successful. We have a little place, and maybe it's the place that I'll take you to for my little getaway. And it's a house that we were refurbishing, and it's up in the country. And while we were working it, I remember a man coming to me one day. He says, so what was the completion date? I said, completion date? I said, no completion date. We working on the house. When I get some money, we do this. When we get some more money, we will put in the windows. And when I get some more money, we will do that. I say, right now, I just experiencing refurbishing the house. So the house finished. Where's peace now? Go up the road, open up the doors, pull a chair out in the veranda, and sit down. And then come on, Jay, the sea sounding real noisy, you know. Because you could hear the sea, the different sound of it. And I, good with it. They said, so what are you going up to do? I said, do? No, it on some land and we plant some things, and there was a time we used to go up and plant something, put on a little chair. No, we just kind of look at it. Yeah, it's growing okay. End of story. I just comfortable. I love my family, I love my God, I love my country, and I just doing what I have to do. I'm not letting anything aggravate me, and for me, that is success. But it does not mean that I'm detached and uninvolved. I'm going to put my hand in something, I'm going to work at something, but I'm not letting it steal my peace and my grace.
But it took a process to get to this point.
Yeah, and in fact, you know,
We're not born like that.
no, I was talking to my wife this morning, and we were talking something about mellow. And she said, you mellow? I said, you don't find so? She said, yeah, you get mellow. So, yeah, you're mellow, and maybe you don't have all the energy to be not mellow. but it is a kind of, is a perspective. You know, I used to tell people about perspective and what you see. At the bottom, at the foot of in St. Augustine, Eastern Main Road and St. John Road, the mount up there. When you're standing at that corner, there's something that you see. Scotia Bank, Emerald Plaza, as you go up the hill, you start to see UE campus. And you go further up and you see the Central Range. And you go further up, and I guess far enough you'll be able to see Venezuela. As we move in life, our perspective shifts. We see different things. And for me, it is as I look at my parents, as I look at where we are in Trinidad and Tobago, I understand now that I'm not going to change the world. There was a time when I was going to change the world, you know. Yeah. But I understand now that I change the world by changing the space in which I am, choosing to act where I can and to do what I can do. So people will ask, so, but why are you still doing this thing? I say, you know, and it comes back to choice. I say, a day will come when I will not be here to do that. Or the day will come when I will be here and I'm not going to be able to do that. So today, I'm here and I'm able to do it, and I will do it. I'm just choosing to put that down. Somebody going to come after and continue whatever the work is.
Wow. This is, you know, this is really a positive moment. This is a positive moment. And coming back to your experiences, you would have gotten feedback, because part of our existence in the world is knowing the kind of impact. We're not doing it for the impact, or hopefully we have great impact. Yeah. Not necessarily to hear how well we've done, but there certainly would have been moments that will remain in your mind that have made a difference in a life, have made a difference in the life of an organization. Is there a particular moment that you could reflect to us that stands out, even as the rain is falling now? Because that's a part of a moment as well too. Maybe heard on the camera or not. But there's what moment when maybe, like the rain, it was so much blessings. The words that you received felt like rain and felt like blessings, because I was able to make a specific contribution as a conduit towards somebody else's success.
You know, that sounded so grand, you know, Don. But I wanted to recall, I wanted to tell you a little story. Something that happened about 5 or 6 years ago. I taught at Tranquility between 1966 and 1968. And a few years ago, I met someone who I used to teach. And she came up to me and she says, Mr. Watkins. I said, Janice Phillip. And the girl almost collapsed. She says, sir, you remember my name?
Wow.
Right? Sir, you remember my name? And to me, what was meaningful for her is that, sir, remember her name. You know? And to me, it is little things like that make a difference. For me, the people who you're walking with, I say, yeah, I remember you, you know. You do a session with us and so and so. And I remember that, and I end up going, and those things are happening. And the truth, and that is why we have to do what we can do when we can do it. Because we never know what is the opportunity we have to touch people's lives, not just today, but things that will echo through the years. It will happen for them, and they will experience something long after you are gone and you all have separated. Your choice to do something in a particular way doesn't end after you've made that choice. That echoes through the ages.
Wow, that's big for me. So as we get ready to close up, you know, I am really blown away by the journey you shared with us here today. Very, very grateful, and we can't not only think that it wouldn't be possible without Republic Bank too. Really grateful for Republic Bank being part of this journey with us. And you know, I say it in a very proper way, Mr. Watkins. You know, I want to really thank you for all that you have done, not only for yourself, but by you being here on this planet. You have lived for your people, as you said. As you do your thing, you live for your people. You've touched my life. Don has expressed how you've hit his life in a special way. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, Don, I'll let you close the show.
Well, before Don closes the show, let me say thanks to both of you. Thank God for, in a sense, putting me here, allowing me to be and to do what I've done. And really for you all giving me the opportunity to place some of the thoughts out there.
Most welcome. And we look forward to going to that positive location.
Yes, of course.
We look forward to that.
And doing nothing.
But what? Doing what though?
Peace. Doing
But being in
nothing.
peace.
You know, we've certainly had a wonderful discussion. And if I have to try to sum it up, you'll never reach beyond your limit if you give in and quit. It will happen only if you believe that God determines for you to achieve nothing but the very best. So, as you go on your quest to become all you could be and more, I want you to do like the eagle and soar. Let me tell you folks, this has been Positive Moments. We certainly had a very positive gentleman here, Andrew Lewis and myself, on behalf of us, on behalf of the entire crew, those in front of the camera, those behind the camera. We want to say thank you, a special thank you to Republic Bank again. A special thank you for making this possible. Because let me tell you, after listening to him, Andrew, anything is possible.
Yeah.
If the dream
It's big enough.
is big enough, the facts don't matter. Anthony, I want you to look into the camera.
Yeah.
And if you could look to that camera and you could make
Sure.
that comment. We want to capture you saying that.
And it's not just a comment, you know.
But it's,
It's for real.
It's for
If your
real.
dream is big enough, the facts don't matter. They don't.
Wow.
Live your dream.
Live
You
your
have the
dream.
choice to do it, do it.
Thank you very much. You all have a lovely day and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.
Well, folks, we'll be back again. This is Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. I say Andrew and Don, but Andrew's somehow missing. I think we lost him along some trail today. But let me tell you, I'm here with the one and only Anthony Watkins. And he's brought us to a special place. Now, I tried to say the word just now, and I think I couldn't even get the words out because I might mix it up. So, Tony, welcome again to Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. Minus Andrew this time for a little bit. But still, Tony, where are we? Where's this special place to you? Kind of lost it. Where are we?
This special place is the village of Rampanalgas in the very special area, the region that we call Toco, the northeast coast, which is God's gift to Trinidad and Tobago. No two ways about it.
Wow. You say God's gift to Trinidad and Tobago, you talk Toco. Now, immediately, I might think about Keyshawn Walcott because, you know, Toco become a little bit more famous now.
Yes, of course.
But let me tell you.
He's a child of the coast.
Oh, that's what we're talking about. But, Tony, thinking about you, because you were in this area at one point in time. This was really your homestead. I mean, you went in town and play man, as they say. Yes. Right? But now you're back, and even as we come up here to see you relaxing, tell us what this place means to you and why it's so important to go back and touch roots with where your roots begin.
Yeah, you know, this place, there are a number of kind of iterations around me and this area because growing up as a little boy in Arima, my father used to work as the probation officer in what was then called Eastern Counties, St. David, St. Andrew, and River Mayaro. So you're going from Matlot all the way down to Guayaguayari. And during the late 50s, I mean, we used to be up here knocking about with him when he had his court sessions and that kind of thing, visiting people who were on probation. So I have a lot of very fond childhood memories of the area. Of course, I would have gone away and Then when I came back to Trinidad in 1980, in terms of working in the guidance unit, there was the option to work at Northeastern College in Sangre Grande and Toko Composite. And I took the opportunity to work here. So it was that was my second iteration in terms of coming back to this area and really seeing the place now through the eyes of an adult, as a professional, but really hankering for some of the old childhood memories. And then I left guidance in 1989. And of course, about 5-6 years ago, I mean, where we are now is an old, so my cousins own the place, my aunt and my cousins, and we acquired it, my wife and I. And now this is our homestead in the country, you know. So it's really just the third version, 3.0 of Rampant Algas and Toko on this part of the coast. I just absolutely enjoy just being here, sitting, doing nothing, and taking in the breeze and literally just relaxing.
Wow.
It's just that kind of place.
We met you in this position, and I have no doubt before the end of the day you'll still be in this position, just relaxing and so. But Tony, you know, you are well known for your work with organizations and with people, and you're very experienced. And what has it been in terms of working with people in the area as opposed to working in town with other folks and so? Do you see a difference in folks and how they view life, or what has been your experience?
Yeah, you know, interestingly, you know, coming up here and when I was working up here with people, they would always be very interested in getting things done, but there was the desire to do things, but also an understanding of some of the constraints that were there. Working with the children, you know, whether it was in Sangre Grande or in Toko Composite, you know, in those days it was a composite. It was a kind of child that I knew, and not what some of the other guidance officers would be talking about, you know. So it really felt very comfortable. What I find now is that there are still people in the communities who do work, whether it's with the carnival things or other kinds of issues that might be social and community groups, that people are still committed to that. But there's also a kind of, sometimes a kind of acceptance of the condition. Like you don't want to fight it too much. And you know, the example I use very often is, you know, sometimes, certainly in the old days, I mean, transportation is different now. But back, you know, 70s and 80s, people would come out and they want to go into town. So you get up early, you come, you stand up by the side of the road and you wait for something to pass.
Something.
And if something passes, you go. If nothing passes, by 7:30, you go back home, take off your clothes and say, well, I'll come back out tomorrow and try to go. You know, it is that kind of, a kind of acceptance. I don't want to call it a fatalism, but people understand their circumstance. But of course, I know certainly I think conditions are different. People are much more aware, knowledgeable, the internet and exposure to things. So there are higher expectations now of people in terms of what life would be like and what they're entitled to and what they want to seek after.
Wow. Well, the name of this program is Positive Moments. And what would be back then, or for somebody in the area, what was their positive moments? What would they enjoy doing in the land and so? What was their positive? Because they had to still remain sufficiently positive to exist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, being positive, I think back then was really, in a sense, being comfortable with what you had, but also being able to access things, whether it was in Sangre Grande or Arima and that kind of thing. If it was a job, it meant, you know, going out there and doing that. Of course, positive for one person or for a few people may sometimes have had a difficult or what we could call maybe a less than positive impact on the community, because it meant people were leaving the community and everybody who was here didn't stay. You know, so you had some issues where, you know, the older people would be here, an active adult population might be going out, and then you have a younger population that may or may not have the kind of guidance that they would need. So there were challenges with it, but I think people, of course, everywhere would aspire to be and to do something different, and a lot of people did that, and they went out and made their way.
Wow. And what I'm gathering just from your posture, not just your words, is that it's important to have a place to relax. Because after all is done, after all the concrete jungle and the fighting and so, you know, we fight to get to a place and still have to come back to relax at the end of it. I mean, that's just how life goes. But what for somebody who's looking on at the program and struggling, they're at a particular age, maybe 50, 60, and wondering what's next, there are quite a few options in our beautiful country for what's next.
You know, as you say, a beautiful country, I have always, I mean, the fact that I lived in Canada for 13 years and then made a decision to come back to Trinidad, and I didn't come back to Trinidad and Tobago in an internet high access era. This was 1980. there was no internet. They didn't have no massive set of bookstores. You didn't have no set of training programs to go to and keep yourself refreshed professionally. So there was a kind of acceptance that this is how Trinidad and Tobago is. But having come back here and in a sense living, you're working at what you're doing, but over time you realize that there has to be some balance. And people talk about work-life balance. It's not work-life balance, it's life balance. And in life there's work, there's relaxation, there's God, there's play, there's fun, there's family. And it's really in life how you balance the different aspects of what it is. Over time, I work hard and I pride myself on my work ethic, but I also choose to play hard. I decide that I'm going through, okay? I'm doing what I have to do and I'm doing it well. But what I also have been able to do is to define some boundaries. Whether it's boundaries around my telephone, boundaries around news, and I kind of old-timerish with this. So, I tell people, in my family, we do not answer the phone at home between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock. That is news time. And it's not even news, sometimes I say that's panorama, all right? So you're not supposed to be calling people's house during news. You're supposed to be looking at news. And we make fun of it, but it is some of the ways of carving out some time and space. On weekends, people will call me, and in some of the work that I do now, people want to access you, so you get a message on a Sunday morning, 10 o'clock. I'm not responding to that. You will get a response on Monday morning, all right? But I'm not encouraging people to encroach on space and time. And it is interesting, even in this location, I have internet access up here. But I remember in the earlies, I was saying, no internet up in Rampanagas. We don't want any internet. That's going to disturb a whole lot of things. But then I found myself having to leave here to go back down to Sao to have a session. And I say, you know what? Internet in Rampanagas.
Yes,
so it means I could set up the internet, do my session for an hour, turn it off, and then back to my relaxation. So it really is kind of managing the space and understanding that we need to enjoy the moments that we have, and to come here provides me with some special moments. My work provides me with moments. Sitting in the morning with my wife, breakfast, and then the little old talk after, that provides me some moments. So it's really about having some of those moments, and I find them and I enjoy it.
Wow. And all those moments you're referring to me, they sound like positive moments.
Yeah. But of course, they don't come unaccompanied by negatives.
But it's
life is what it is. Even in some of the work that I'm doing now, you're getting some, as we say, some jarring coming from some other places, and you say, how do I handle this? What is this thing going to teach me? Even the jarring now, and some of the discomfort that comes with it. What is this going to teach me? I want to find what the gift is in that, and really make a decision to not let it disturb me. Okay, you have to handle it. And and Andrew will know from a sailing perspective, when the wind picks up or something else, when the waves start to get a bigger chop on them, you handle it.
You had them adjust.
And that's what it is.
Wow. Well, Tony, you've been handling a lot, and you're handling the company, you're handling your family, and so on. And that leads me to the point that you're actually leaving a legacy. And even as we have to leave the program in a little while, and the program comes to, this episode comes to a particular close. Tony, what's L. Anthony Watkins? That name to me signifies a legacy. The L may have another meaning, but the L for me is a legacy that Anthony Watkins would have left and be leaving. Tony, what would you say is your legacy? I'm not trying to date you or say that you're going tomorrow, but there's certainly a legacy that you would have, in terms of all the organizational work you would have done over the years, Sangre Grande, Toco, Port of Spain, the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago, the world as a matter of fact, because you've spoken with people around the world and audiences and stages around the world. What's your legacy, Tony, as we get ready to close up this episode of Positive Moments?
You leave the hardest question for last. What's my legacy? I don't know, the legacy is the leg in the relay, and maybe leg might have to do like this piece of the legacy. The leg that I've run in the relay, I think about, and we did it when we talked earlier on, sometime, about the role and the impact that my parents had in my life. And for me, my legacy is helping their legacy to live. A legacy of service, a legacy of commitment to country, a legacy of doing what is good by other people. And sometime I remember there was an award I had got, a national award I had got sometime a couple of years ago. And I was saying to some people in my church that this is really an award for, it's not an award for me doing anything. This is an award for obedience to the will of God. And it is how do we, when we call to do something, when we are given certain talents, when we have a gift that has been bestowed on us, how do we use that to best effect? And for me, my legacy is living that, not keeping it for me, but really doing it in a way that serves other people and helping to give them the opportunity to be all that they can be. And for me, that's what my parents did, and that's what I'm doing. So.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, Tony, you know, I couldn't not come to Rampanalgas. I got the name now, right?
Yeah, man,
and not leave a word in Rampanalgas.
Right.
And what I see, Tony, is that you've been able to serve. And that service, you know, the service and service. And that's how I'm able to see. You know, and you're helping other people to see Tony because of your service. And certainly, I want to congratulate you and to thank you on behalf of Andrew and myself for just being in service, even in positive moments with Andrew and Don. Because these are moments, and the positive moments, these are moments that we need to record, these are moments that we need to be reminded of. Because it's leaving a pathway for us to follow. Us younger ones, I can say younger ones now with that. I mean, Andrew will have to say the younger, we are here.
I understand the younger.
You understand? But I really want to thank you because there are going to be some younger ones, inverted commas, who are going to be watching this and saying, hey, one day I want to be able to serve like L. Anthony Watkins. One day I want to be able to leave a legacy that Trinidad and Tobago and the world at large can be proud of. And I certainly want to say I'm proud of you, to have you as a mentor. I'm very, very happy that you have role models that you could still look at and people who you can identify with. And I want to thank you again for being on Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. Please look at this again on our YouTube channel, Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. We want to thank you all for being part of this episode. This episode is like no other, and the others would not be like this one, because there's a lot of fun involved, a lot of special places we get to come to. And today, let me get that word again. The last I'm going to say is that we went to Rampanal. Rampanal. Yeah. Well, okay.
You almost got
it. I almost got it. I know there's a last in it somewhere, you know. But certainly, man, thank you. And folks, look on. Keep looking at Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. A lot more fun to come.
Thanks a lot, Don. It has been my privilege and pleasure.